Okay. So one thing that I think all three of us really enjoy is playing multiplayer. We think that it's a core important component of the Total War series, and we've been playing it for years at this point. What are your thoughts on possibly expanding the multiplayer suite as the Warhammer trilogy moves forward? And do you feel like there's an opportunity to grab more market share by making multiplayer more accessible, more appealing to a wider group, a wider audience, basically? Is there any plans for free-for-all or Avatar Conquest or anything like that?
Yeah, so happy to announce there is free-for-all in Warhammer 2.
Yes! Feels good!
Yeah, which is super fun. With the asymmetry of the races, it's on another level, it's really great. So we're really happy to get that in. And we've improved upon the existing mechanics of it in terms of how it counts score and determines winner of the free-for-all. I mean, we really like multiplayer and want to do more with it. Free-for-all for us is a initial toe in the water of how does it feel, how do people respond to this, you know, what's the reception, and depending on how that goes, I think we'll definitely be looking at wanting to try and do more multiplayer stuff in the future. Like I said, it's a trilogy, and you know, there's completely that idea of evolving the whole game over time.
We always want to do free, co-op and everything. It's just that unfortunately there is a finite resource, and we have to obviously point that in certain directions to make sure we get the best game possible. Yeah. I mean, the other point is obviously that with all the races having different start positions for their two legendary lords, so you've got co-op campaign and also head-to-head campaign as well. So. Yeah. So in co-op you can play as the same race, so you can have one player as Tyrion, one player as Teclis, and you are working together on the race to the Vortex and sharing the ritual currency that you accrue. In head-to-head, you are two factions racing against each other, so that one is especially cool.
So in Warhammer 1, siege battles, some people liked the way you did the sieges, some people didn't. Seems like there's a lot of different opinions. Are you guys changing anything the siege battles wise? Anything drastically?
Yeah, I think the direction that we went with siege battles, like you say, it's kind of, some people are very happy with it, and it's kind of accomplishing what we wanted to accomplish with it, which is a more fast-paced, frenetic kind of crazy dash for the walls kind of gameplay, as opposed to the more traditional, slower-paced, strategic kind of encircling the walls kind of thing. And I think we are making some improvements to the new layouts that we're bringing with the sieges. We're adding a bit more street gameplay and pushing that a little bit further. But I think the route that we've gone down is what we want to push to make a really great experience. And when there's no plan to overhaul on that.
We've got the Fortress Gate.
There is the Fortress Gate as well.
Kind of siege, isn't it? It's a whole new battle, a whole new siege battle mode, effectively, the Fortress Gates.
Is there like different objectives in that map that make it stand out, compared to
So you can't bring siege equipment to a Fortress Gate battle, so it really is clambering over the walls. It's a really difficult siege assault.
So in the gameplay we saw, and you guys showed us the Lizardmen, the High Elves. So we played the Lizardmen, so we got to see a bit of the Rampage. That was a cool mechanic, a nice new twist on it. Can we expect something similar for the other new factions, that they'll each have their own kind of different approach to battle like that? Or will they be more traditional?
Yeah, each faction plays quite differently in battle. The High Elves they're really all about the defense. They have martial prowess, which is when their health is above 50%. They are much stats balancing to be done. They are much better in charge defense and melee defense. So you got to be really careful with just trying to keep your units high health, forming shield walls, locking them in. You really want to keep those guys defensive.
Did you just confirm?
No, I didn't.
I was gonna check and see the formations, but okay, fair enough.
Eagle eyes.
That's the High Elves. We're not talking about the other factions right now, but their gameplay is equally as different in battles, and we'll get to that more later.
So similar to game one, similar to game one, game two is going to have a huge emphasis on dragons, maybe more so than game one. High Elf Star Dragons are the pinnacle of monsters in Warhammer Fantasy. They can take on the mightiest greater demons of chaos. They're crazy. What has been done in Total War Warhammer 2 to maybe revamp or reimagine dragons, and how are they going to play differently in terms of mechanics, play style, than the zombie dragons and the forest dragons of game one? And is anything being done about the dragons in game one? Will they be changed at all?
So they get fire breath. Everything gets fire breath, and we're putting that.
Well, I
back
guess it's
into
not fire for all of them, but
breath.
Okay.
breath
necrotic breath if it's a zombie dragon.
Yeah.
But they're going to have a nice in-flight breath attack.
Yeah, which makes them. Yeah, previously they always, they fly along, but they need to go down to melee to engage. So now they can fire from the sky. It makes them a lot more harder to deal with.
Is that an active ability that you kind of line up like
Castable
a breath spell,
ability.
or castable ability? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, active ability. Yeah, exactly.
So you guys released the Wizardmon roster yesterday. Similar to a few of the units that were implemented in game one, like the Aspiring Champions, there are a couple that are drawn from the lore, but aren't actually from the army books. So I would love to hear about specifically the Bastiladon with the Revivification Crystal, and what the idea behind that unit was, how closely you worked with Games Workshop on implementing that, and where that whole impetus came from.
Well, that's kind of Alistair, battle director, battle designer. The director thing. He wanted. He kind of spotted. He wanted something else for the Bastiladon to do. We couldn't quite get the swarming working as yet for the
Ark of Sotek.
The Ark of Sotek. So we wanted to work on something else, so a healing platform. So it's me and Alistair working on it, and then we kind of pitch it to Games Workshop, and we have a very good relationship, as we've said numerous times before. We have a really good relationship with Games Workshop. They're really happy with what we do, and they were like, that's cool, and
it's fitting.
The Revivification Crystal.
Very hard to say.
I know, I came up with a name and now I can't say it. I think the key to kind of working in the lore, making something new in the lore, is if you're kind of you know what the lore is and everything. So if we said to Games Workshop we want a blue flying dwarf, they'd probably say no.
Probably not.
As
cool as that would be.
Wow.
It's sensitivity. But if we say
to initial conditions,
actually we want a cool new crystal kind of ability for Bastiladon, they're probably going to say yes.
Can you expand on how it works in combination with the Rampage mechanic?
I can't, to be honest, at the moment.
Or what?
I mean, it will rampage because it's.
Does it just heal units, or how does the unit function?
I believe it's an AoE healing.
Yeah.
Like
There's
a
an aura.
passive,
It's an aura.
passive
It's a
AoE
passive aura.
healing aura.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they'll still rampage, but they'll heal when they're fighting. So,
In terms of the spell mechanics, it's much the same as Warhammer 1, but we are looking at improving the scaling and the balancing of magic throughout. And obviously army abilities, as you saw before, is one of the new big mechanics there. And like I said, these are like more powerful spells. They are, they're on cooldowns, they're on charges, because they are so powerful in the battles. And the way in which you can get those is really interesting. So, for example, if you are defending at a fortress gate and you've built up a certain garrison chain, you get the ability to spawn an eagle into that fortress gate battle that you're defending to help fight for you. Or you can perform a rite as the High Elves that gives you access to an army ability called Vol's Hammer, which can literally bring a hammer down on a siege wall and smash it open. So,
so recently you guys added some great modding tools for Warhammer 1. Are you guys going to expand Warhammer 2, add any more to that?
I think our plans at the moment are to fully support what we've got there in Warhammer 1 for Warhammer 2. But we're completely looking at what players are doing with those mod tools, and there's some amazing mods out there.
Yeah.
So there's really cool
the
stuff.
maps are
Yeah,
unbelievable.
I love the maps.
Yeah.
And yeah, we totally want to keep supporting that. and we're looking at what people are saying, and we do have ideas about ways in which we can improve that. When we put it out, it was definitely here's our first try at it.
Yeah.
Much in beta.
Yeah, making it very. Our attempt with Terry specifically with the map making was to try and make it much more accessible, so that people, because when we're using that tool internally, we've been using it a very long time, and we understand the quirks of it. It's our own engine, our own tool set. We know how to work with it, but you give it to someone. I mean, we have someone new start the company. We've got to train them how to use this thing. We give it out to people in the public, without sufficient support. It's a tough thing to use. So we spent a lot of time trying to make that usable, and I hope that's coming out with all the maps we're seeing. So for the release of Warhammer 2, no specific plans, but we're totally open to doing more. And as always, listening to what people say they want to get.
Awesome.
Which leads us to maybe DLC. So in the past, it's been kind of shaky, but I think people have appreciated the transparency of the DLC that we've gotten here, very open and upfront about it, especially the timeline that shows, we're here, expect this DLC in the future. I think people have really appreciated that. The Lord packs and the campaign packs have been pretty great. I hope you guys are going to pursue the same level of transparency, but is there something you've learned that you want to pitch new DLC platforms instead of Lords and campaigns, maybe do monsters pack or something like that? Are you trying to expand the selection?
I think we've got ideas about things we can try, for sure. There's so much stuff that we could put in.
Right.
It's just, the list is endless of what we want to do. But for sure, the method of Lord and Hero packs and campaign packs have gone down really well. We're really happy with what they provide, and
I think particularly it was such a pleasant surprise to see how stoked people were with Regiments of Renown.
Yeah,
because they're
awesome.
cool. They don't just expand your roster, but they give you access to units before you can get them in your building tree, and I just didn't think they were going to go down as well as they did.
They're really cool.
I think for me, it's always the Lords and Heroes packs, because it's a way of getting all these cool special characters that we may have not got round to on the first pass. So Skarsnik.
Skarsnik's great, yeah.
And
Wurza.
I think it's pretty certain we're going to continue.
Yeah,
doing
there's
at least
stuff
a
we've
few of
learned
those.
from doing them that we take forward, like the multiple start positions for the legendary lords and things like that. It's just that makes sense. Let's keep doing that. People really like that.
Multiple starts is always something we wanted to do from Warhammer 1. Again, it was you have a finite amount of man hours.
Yeah.
You have to focus it.
And on the
We've
point
got- we're learning.
And on the point of transparency, yeah, we'll absolutely be talking about that in good time. I mean, we're still kind of early days, but in good time we will start talking in at least general terms about the roadmap a bit.
Sure.
So.
Obviously, you guys can't confirm anything on this front, but I still want to ask, have you thought at all about doing historical campaigns or historical settings, something like the Sundering or the War of the Beard, anything like that? Has that crossed the...
I think we talk about that sort of thing all the
All
time.
the
don't
time.
we? It's there's so much you can do with this world. I mean, we've got our work cut out, to be honest, just building
The trilogy.
Yeah. And who knows what we can do later.
Once the big maps complete, maybe that's something we can come and think about.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we've covered the breadth of it. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for the time.
Thank you
Really
very much.
appreciate it.
Cheers, guys.
You're welcome.